Every 2 weeks, trillions of dollars of American payroll move through one company's bank accounts. The employees don't know it's there. The companies don't think about it. And ADP, the 75-year-old payroll giant, quietly earned over $1.1 billion last year just by letting that money sit. This is the most boring profit machine in the S&P 500. And for the first time in decades, someone is actually trying to break it. Start with the headline number. ADP's fiscal 2025 revenue, $20.56 billion, up 7% on an organic constant currency basis. That is the visible business. The processing fees, the per-employee per month subscriptions, the thing every CFO sees on the invoice. But it is also a magic trick, because the real story is what isn't on the invoice. Automatic data processing started in a New Jersey garage roughly 3/4 of a century ago, literally running payroll on punch cards. Today it has become the closest thing American capitalism has to a private utility. Roughly 1 in 6 American workers gets paid through ADP's pipes. 1.1 million companies trust it to move the money on payday. And once a company is on those pipes, it almost never leaves. The client revenue retention rate for fiscal 2025 hit 92.1%, near a record high. That is not a customer relationship. That is plumbing. Once payroll, tax filings, benefits, and time tracking are wired into the back office. Ripping ADP out is roughly as appealing as replacing the foundation of your house while everyone is still living in it. Now here is where it stops being a payroll company. On any given day in fiscal 2025, ADP was sitting on an average of $37.6 billion in client money. Wages owed to employees on Friday. Federal and state tax withholdings owed to the IRS by the 15th. Health premiums owed to insurers by month end. Money that legally belongs to other people. Money ADP gets to hold for a few days at a time, and then reinvest. And this is the quiet monopoly thesis in one paragraph. The best businesses in the world don't look like businesses. They look like infrastructure. They charge a small, defensible fee for something boring. And then, almost as an afterthought, they harvest a second income stream from the float, the data or the network that the first business created. ADP is the textbook example. The payroll fees are the moat. The float is the prize. Look at what happened to that float income over the last 5 years. In fiscal 2021, ADP earned $422 million in interest on client funds. By fiscal 2022, $452 million. Then the Federal Reserve started hiking, and the curve broke loose. $813 million in fiscal 2023, $1.01 billion in fiscal 2024, $1.19 billion in fiscal 2025, nearly triple in 3 years. The sales force did not sell a thing. Here is the number that matters. Float income is only 5.8% of ADP's total revenue, but analysts estimate it contributes around 22% of operating profit. Because the marginal cost of earning interest on money you already happen to be holding is essentially zero. No engineers, no salespeople, no customer support. Just a laddered bond portfolio, 51% corporate bonds, 25% U.S. Treasuries, the rest in Canadian government paper and asset-backed securities. Maturities stretched out to 10 years to lock in yield. In the third quarter of fiscal 2025, ADP earned an average annualized yield of 3.2% on those client funds, up 10 basis points year over year. Multiply 3.2% by $37 billion, and you understand why management talks about float in the same tone. Other CEOs talk about a new product line. Stack the whole machine together, and you get the picture of a company at the top of its game. ADP revenue grew from $14.59 billion in fiscal 2020 to $20.56 billion in fiscal 2025. Net earnings climbed from $2.6 billion in fiscal 2021 to $4.1 billion last year. Adjusted operating margin expanded 50 basis points to 26%. This is what the peak of a toll booth business looks like. But every toll booth eventually meets a road that bypasses it. ADP's challenge is not a competitor with a better payroll engine. The challenge is architectural. ADP runs on more than 30 product codebases, decades of client-specific customizations, and mainframe DNA that goes back to the 1970s. The challengers don't. Rippling raised $450 million in May 2025 at a $16.8 billion valuation. By March 2026, its annualized recurring revenue hit $1 billion, growing 78% year over year. It is selling employers a single unified system for payroll, IT provisioning, devices, and spend management. No legacy code, no mainframe to retire, just a clean, AI-native stack pointed directly at ADP's mid-market base. And the buyer is changing too. By 2026, an estimated 80% of HR departments are expected to use generative AI or predictive analytics in daily operations. That is a generation of HR leaders who have never touched a mainframe, never filed a paper W-2, and have no nostalgia for the way payroll used to work. Here is the uncomfortable truth for ADP shareholders. The float is glorious. $1.19 billion a year of near pure profit, scaling with wages and interest rates rather than effort. But float requires balances. Balances require clients. And clients require a product the next generation actually wants to use. In the December quarter, float income still printed $287 million, up 13% year over year, even as the Fed began cutting rates. The engine is humming. The question is whether the chassis around it can survive the next decade. Quiet monopolies usually die slowly, then all at once. If you want more deep dives on the businesses hiding in plain sight, subscribe.